Chapter 22. Oh, 7. Yes, I drugged her. The ice-blue energy cannon collided with the black energy sphere, causing an earth-shaking explosion. The light formed a chaotic storm space, which blew Zhang Yi away subconsciously. But at this moment, Zhang Yi curled up the corners of his mouth. Although Zheng Lu blocked the attack, Zhang Yi also discovered a major problem with him. He tried his best to block Ho Tu's hell guillotine. Although he was not killed, he was seriously injured. Otherwise, when faced with an attack of this magnitude, the first thing that comes to mind is definitely not a head-on confrontation, but dodging. Zheng Lu didn't dodge, not because he didn't want to, but because he had consumed too much strength at this moment, and his body was a little unbalanced, so he couldn't dodge this move. Everything is under my control. Even though Ho Tu didn't kill you, I will finish you off now. How much strength do you still have now? I'm really looking forward to it. Zhang Yi glanced at the energy meter on Ling's body. At this point in the battle, more than half of the energy stored in Ling's body has been consumed. When this value is lower than 5%, she will not be able to exert the strength of a knight. In other words, now and for a long time afterwards, Zhang Yi's combat effectiveness is still at its peak. Now it's my turn. Go to hell. Zhang Yi raised his right hand and launched an attack without hesitation toward Zheng Lu, who was breathing heavily and adjusting his condition in midair. He put his fingers together like swords, writing and drawing in front of him like an artist, and his movements were so fast that it seemed like he was swinging a sword. But this seemingly ordinary action caused the crack in the space where Zheng Lu was to collapse. Swish, swish, swish. It was as if a sharp sickle was cutting through the void, cutting through Zheng Lu's already scarred body. After the toughest skin on the body is cut, the ability of the dimensional string solution can cause greater damage to Zheng Lu's body. More than a dozen dimensional strings left deep scars on Zheng Lu's body, and green blood flowed out from his wounds, dyeing Zheng Lu's whole body green. Zhang Yi took advantage of this opportunity to quietly open the different space. A colorless and odorless drug quickly spread throughout the space. It was a deadly poison that killed instantly upon contact with blood. It wasn't prepared specifically for this battle, but Zhang Yi prepared for every battle. In his alien space, there are thousands of kinds of materials prepared to win the battle. These include, but are not limited to, poisons, laxatives, and a wide range of allergens. Any living thing will have weaknesses, and any weaknesses can be targeted. If you encounter a device whose weaknesses you are not sure of, just prepare more. There will always be one that can work. At this moment, Zheng Lu is very suitable for using this medicine. But who is Zheng Lu? Even though he was covered in wounds, the medicine was spreading invisibly in the air, and the slightest fluctuations could not escape his eyes. This low-level trick just made him feel ridiculous. With a loud shout, a strong airflow burst out from around his body, directly blowing away the spreading powder. Zhang Yi didn't care. After all, this space had been reduced to a certain range by Zheng Lu. The powder will only be blown away, but will not disappear. He continued to throw these drugs in the air, while not forgetting to launch attacks. The dimensional strings continued to tear apart the space and attack Zheng Lu's body. This kind of attack is almost impossible to dodge unless you have the ability of time attribute, because it has no attack trajectory and is completely instantaneous. As long as the target is within 5 kilometers of Zhang Yi, the instant attack can reach the target's body. Zheng Lu felt severe pain all over his body, but he didn't have such advanced armor as Zhang Yi. Not to mention Ling's human body, even the demon armor transformed from Yichigel's body is far superior to the technology of their Wulwan Empire. You have such a simple skill, yet you dare to show off in front of an expert. Zheng Lu roared angrily. Although his body was in pain, the lizardman's body was too huge, especially Zheng Lu, who was a head taller than the ordinary lizardman. The injury looks serious, but it is at most a superficial injury. With his own recovery speed, it will not cause fatal damage. He tightened his muscles to stop the blood from flowing out. But he was really too tired at the moment, and there was fatigue in his eyes. The damage caused by the hell guillotine to him was far greater than he had imagined. In order to block that move, he almost burned himself out. No, we can't continue like this. He came fully prepared, and those guys who were captured must have leaked a lot of my information. But I don't understand his abilities as well as I thought. I have to find his weakness and end the battle as quickly as possible. There is absolutely no delay. Zheng Lu had to think while defending against Zhang Yi's attack. Fortunately, nowadays, Zhang Yi's attacks are unlikely to cause fatal injuries to him. So now it is Zheng Lu who is constantly moving around and delaying time. Zhang Yi saw Zheng Lu's embarrassment, but he did not pursue him relentlessly. Instead, he curled the corners of his mouth and continued to keep Zheng Lu in a tense state of response. During this process, the medicinal powder had spread throughout the entire space. It was impossible for Zheng Lu to continue to disperse them, because even if he used a storm to blow them away, the dust everywhere would still dance with the battle between the two and inevitably come into contact with his body. He can hold his breath. Underground creatures do not have such a high demand for oxygen, and their own cells can store a large amount of oxygen. However, he still had wounds on his body left by Zhang Yi. Some of the dust attached itself to Zheng Lu's body through the wounds, and after being contaminated by his blood, it began to quickly enter his body. Zheng Lu also became furious after feeling these special substances. But now he had no armor to protect him, and even his clothes were cut into pieces by Zhang Yi, which could not prevent him from being exposed to the drug dust. Toxin. Zheng Lu was secretly alert in his heart, but he was not very panicked. He raised his hand, and a ball of virtual destiny condensed in his palm, and threw it towards Zhang Yi from a distance. At the same time, a huge ice-blue energy cannon also happened to attack, and the collision between the two caused the powerful energies to annihilate each other. Do you really think you can defeat me with such a crude method? You are an idiot. Zheng Lu tried hard to tighten his muscles to block the wounds and prevent the medicine from entering his body. The physique of our Wulwan clan is far stronger than yours. Your so-called poison has no effect on me at all. Chapter 22:08 Great Tonic. Zheng Lu sneered at Zhang Yi's despicable behavior with disdain. In his opinion, as a top-notch expert, it was extremely shameful to use such inferior means. Even if wisdom is used, it should be a more advanced method. After hearing this, Zhang Yi smiled disapprovingly. Of course I know that ordinary poisons will have no effect on a night-level alien. Your body should have extremely strong anti-poison properties. Zhang Yi has studied this point. Let alone Zheng Lu. Even for humans with enhanced abilities such as Liang Yu, since they have put almost all their abilities into strengthening their own bodies, almost all poisons in the human world are ineffective against them. Because her cells have been completely alienated, they can devour any substance that damages her body and then excrete it out of the body. Zhang Yi spread his hands and said, although poison won't work, your body won't reject medicine that's good for you, right? When Zheng Lu heard this, he was stunned. Good medicine for the body? How could this despicable and shameful human being in front of me be so kind? But if it's not a toxin, then what could it be? Zhang Yi pointed at him and said, don't you notice that you look much better now? You were just attacked by a rule-based ability, but your face is so rosy. Humans have rosy complexions, while lizard men have green complexions. For example, Zheng Lu at this moment, after Zhang Yi's reminder, suddenly felt his face getting hot. Originally, this phenomenon was difficult to detect during the tense battle. But as soon as Zhang Yi reminded him, he paid attention. Zheng Lu had a bad feeling in his heart, but he didn't know what the tonic Zhang Yi was talking about. He gritted his teeth, and the binding chains suddenly burst out from the wall of the black space, attacking Zhang Yi's body from all angles. What on earth did you release? Clatter. Thousands of chains were heading straight towards Zhang Yi. Zhang Yi held Ling's ice dragon sword in his right hand, flipped his palm, and the long sword suddenly swept out. It was still plain and unpretentious, the terrifying ice-blue energy, belonging to its own level of power. The blade light it transformed into was extremely sharp, and it instantly tore apart all the chains that bound the world like cutting through instant noodles. One force can break all laws. In the face of Zheng Lu's various terrifying methods, Zhang Yi relied on the strength of Ling's human body to confront them head-on, without the need for any fancy tricks to deal with them. However, at the same time, Zhenglu finally began to feel that something was wrong with his body. His body began to feel hot, and the blood flowed faster and faster in his veins, as if there was a rushing river in his body. A most primitive desire quickly rose from his lower body. He lowered his head and took a look, and then an indescribable feeling of extreme shame surged into his heart. It turns out that what Zhang Yi used was an aphrodisiac. This medicine is indeed not a poison and will not cause any harm to the body. Instead, it can provide great help to people when doing something. If taken orally, the reaction will be slower. But through the blood, it's like an intravenous injection, so the effect is much faster. It will not kill a person, but it will keep his body in a state of excitement, and his emotions will become more impulsive. Zhang Yi did not expect to be able to poison Zhenglu to death. However, during the life-and-death battle, he was troubled by his biological instincts and desires and was unable to concentrate. Chaos. You are such a despicable and shameless fellow. Zhenglu, have never seen anyone as shameless as you. Don't you even have a little bit of shame as a strong person? Zhenglu opened his lizardman's big mouth and roared angrily. The sixth generation of humans are indeed the most despicable, dark, and evil race in history. They will do anything to achieve their goals, and are extremely shady. This time, Zhenglu finally witnessed the shamelessness of the six generations. The shame of the strong? Zhang Yi sneered. I've thrown that stuff away a long time ago. There's no outsider here, anyway. As long as I kill you, I can do whatever I want you later. In fact, even if others knew about it, Zhang Yi didn't care. He didn't have such a worthless thing as shame. After Zhang Yi finished speaking, he raised his left hand and said with a smile, "This is just the beginning. Next, something even more despicable and shameless is coming." Zhenglu clenched his fists, ready to meet Zhang Yi's attack. He didn't know Zhang Yi's plan yet, but Zhang Yi's left hand, Dimension String Solution, quickly attacked as he wrote and drew. But this time the target is no longer Zhenglu's upper body, and replaced it with his lower body. The armor on Zhenglu's body had been destroyed by Zhang Yi a long time ago, but he was still wearing close-fitting soft armor. The previous attack only targeted the upper body, so Zhenglu's upper body was naked. But at least he was still wearing long pants. However, at this time, only a few crisp sounds of hiss were heard, such as the sound of tearing cloth. Zhenglu suddenly felt his lower body become cool, and the feeling of restraining his body disappeared all of a sudden, as if the heat in his body had subsided a little. He realized what was happening, and his eyes widened. He lowered his head and saw that he was indeed naked, standing proudly in front of Zhang Yi. This attitude is really too shameful. Zhenglu was extremely angry. But he was the military god of the Wulwan Empire after all, and he quickly suppressed his emotional fluctuations. Zhenglu looked at Zhang Yi with cold eyes as if he wanted to eat someone. "Do you think you can have any influence on me like this?" He sneered. "You underestimate me, Zhenglu. According to your 6 generations calculation, I've already lived for over 100 years. What kind of predicament have I not encountered? The lizardman's endurance is beyond your imagination. As long as I can become the strongest human defense, even if the whole world sees my naked body, what does it matter? This kind of despicable technique cannot harm someone who is truly strong in heart." Zhenglu is indeed qualified to say such things. The training of lizardmen warriors is much harsher than this. They have eaten raw meat and even feces to survive. It is precisely because of this that Zhenglu disdains Zhang Yi's despicable tactics. Zhang Yi scoffed. "What are you talking about? It's boring if I watch it alone. I've projected this video to everyone in the Wulwan Empire. Let them see your majestic demeanor." Zhang Yi is not joking. At this time, the 3 super battleships floating above the iron curtain of the sky had already projected the appearance of Zhenglu from Zhang Yi's perspective onto the sky above the Wulwan Empire in accordance with the order issued by Zhang Yi. With me, we'll try to get you more updates. Please like and subscribe and share the video with your friends. Love you all.